Hi, this is the fitting guide for the Alien Rider M2QR. Now the M2QR is the quick release system. So what this comprises of is a 6.2-inch display, front and rear dash cams, blind spot detector and tire pressure monitors. Now you can buy different pieces of that kit as well if you don't want all of those things, but today I'm going to be showing you how to fit all of this. I'm using this mount here today for the fitting. Now there's different options in how you can mount this. I have put a ball mount on this just now because I'm going to put it onto a ram type mount on the bike itself. But there is different options like this one for the bar, and there are other options available as well, such as this more heavy duty mount. And I think if you do a lot of off-road riding and rough roads, etc., this might be a good idea to have. And this has got a combination lock that locks it onto the unit as well. It's just a bit more sturdy than the normal ones. I mean, the normal one is fine for everyday use. It's not a problem at all. But if you feel that you need a heavier duty mount, then it is available. So basically, I'm going to just strip back some of the bike and go through the steps on what you need to do to get this fitted onto the bike. It's not difficult. If you just do it methodically, take your time. It shouldn't take more than like 60 minutes, maybe 90 minutes tops. You don't need to be an expert on wiring or anything. It is quite easy to do. So the way the system works is all the wires need to be fed into this bracket. So there's 4 here. That's the blind spot detector, the 2 dash cams and a power cable. So everything is going to have to be fed up from here into this area here. So because of that, I'm going to just take this panel off. And this is a GS Adventure. It's quite easy to do. It's just T25 screws. I think there's 6 of them. So this just pulls off nice and easy. And I'm just going to feed the wires through here. And I'll discuss the power and how I do it and what's the easiest way of doing this in a minute once I've got this off and we start doing the rest of it. Okay, so that's the panel off. Now what I'm going to do is this mount I'm actually going to be putting onto this ram mount here. I've mounted here like in a mirror before one of the smart displays, and it's actually quite a good place for it because it's easy to reach and it's much easier to see. But there's various options, as I said. I mean, you can use the other mount, and if you've got one of these kind of bars like this BMW brackets on, you can fit it straight onto there as well. What I might do at some point is I'm thinking of buying a crossbar to put across here, and then I can mount the displays on that as well. But for the time being, I'm going to put it here. Before I did it temporarily, and I ended up keeping a unit like this on it for nearly a year because I just liked it there. But again, it's your choice and you've got lots of different options. But anyway, so this is the wire coming out of the bracket, and I'm going to feed this through here down into this area here, and then I will join up. I might cable tie this onto the other cables here, like for the other wiring for the bike. So I might just add it onto there, and then I know all the cables need to come into here. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is do the rear of the bike. So this is the rear camera. Now all of these are marked on them. This actually says rear camera here with the green connector, and this is the radar unit for the blind spot detector. So both of them are going to go to the back of the bike. So I'm going to fit them on. I'm actually going to put them on the bottom of my top box. Now you may not want to do that because maybe you remove your top box all the time, but I never take the top box off. It always stays on. I've never had it off since I bought the bike. So for me, that's fine. But you can choose whatever you want. I mean, it's got 3M, very high bond tape on the bottom of them. And these do stick really, really well. So you don't need to screw them on. That's been my experience because I've had 2 different Alien Rider kits on the bike previously. And that's what I did with them. And come rain or shine, they've been fine. There was absolutely no problem. In fact, when I took them off, it was quite difficult getting them off. I had to heat them up quite high to make them, less sticky and get them off. But these will just stick on, so it's nice and easy. And I'm just going to feed the cables through here. And like I said, all these cables need to go to the front of the bike and connect with these wires here. Okay, so let's get that done. Okay, so I'm going to be mounting this like this, but that means the unit's upside down. This square part in the middle. Now you can tell because the Alien Rider logo in the middle is upside down. So what I'm going to do is open this up and then turn it around. So it's fairly simple to do that. So just bear that in mind when you're doing this. It's just two Phillips head screws that go into this. And that's it. So it's now just ready to go on. I just angle it slightly upwards, but not a huge amount. It's only about maybe a 5 to 8 degree angle that I've got it at, and that's it. So the wire is more than long enough to reach into, the front of the bike on any bike. Okay, so now I'm just feeding the cable through here. Now on the GS, you've got a choice. You can remove this plastic panel and run the wires underneath, or you can just put it through this bit here. There's like an open part here, and you can feed it through so it comes through here. Now that's what I've done before, and I'm going to do the same again now because I do tend to change units quite a lot and I'm always fitting new ones on, so it's a whole kerfuffle to keep doing that every single time. But if you're doing it, it is fairly straightforward to do. There's only about 6 screws. You take everything off and then you should be able to do that. But like I said, you can easily just feed it through here anyway. Right, so that's the blind spot detector wire. That's going to come through to here. Now these are all color coded, so it's just blue on blue. I'm not going to tighten these on just now. I'll just leave it loose. So that's that one done. So next is the rear camera. Now I'm just going to mount this on the top box again, round about here. Now the way this is mounting, the camera is going to be upside down because the Alien Rider logo is on the bottom. So all I'm going to do before I put this on is just loosen this a little bit so I can swivel the camera around in the mount. So there we go. And that's about right there. I mean, you can always adjust it later if you find it's just a little bit off, the horizon isn't straight or whatever. But it's good to get it in the more or less the right position before you mount. I mean, as I said, I don't ever take my top box off. So for me, this is fine to do it like this. For you, you may want to find somewhere else to mount. It will depend on the bike as well, but for me, this is perfect. So again, now I'll take these wires and feed them through, the exact same as I did with the blind spot detector wire. Okay, so that's the wires fed through. So again, this is the green wire that says rear camera on it. There's the green there, it just goes straight into here. So that's that one on. Okay, so previously I've had the cameras mounted here like this. I found this gave me quite a lot of flexibility in adjusting angles and stuff. I mean, I tried underneath, but on the GS, I can't get the angle quite right. It's just pointing down too much, using this. It's just, it's following the angle down, and I don't want it pointing down on the road, obviously. Up here, it allows me to adjust the angle to the optimum to capture everything ahead. Now, I'm going to put it right here at the end so there's less wire hanging down, because if you put it here, then there's a lot of wire. So I just want the wires hidden as much as possible. So I'll put it about here. Okay, so let's get this mounted. Just push and hold down for like 10-15 seconds. Okay, so once I start the unit up and everything, then I can adjust the angles. I'm going to feed this wire through under here. You can usually cable tie this underneath or tape up with duct tape or whatever method you want to use so that it's not hanging down. Wire. Okay, so that's the front camera wire. Yellow goes into the yellow. I mean, as I said, they're all marked. It says front camera on this side and on this side. So you're not really going to mix these up. It's just impossible. Okay, so that's 3 out of the 4 done. The last one is the power. So that's the red one. So I'm going to show you the way that I do it and the best way of doing this. Right, so this is the power cable that comes with the kit. This is what it looks like. So it's quite long so they can reach to wherever it needs to go to. Personally, I think it's slightly too long, but I suppose it's better depending on the bike. Now, there are different ways of doing this. The easiest way I'm going to talk about in a second. Now let's just talk about what the wires are. So this end obviously goes to the unit itself, so up there to where we've plugged in all the other wires. Now on this side there are 3 cables. Right? One is marked as positive pole, negative, and ACC signal wire. Now the ACC signal wire in this case is red, and the positive is yellow, and the black is the negative, you know, the ground wire. What I have done, and I would recommend that you do this, is you buy something like one of these boxes here. Now this is the Thunderbox, right? This is made by a company called Heeltech. This is a TBU02. This is the 32 amp one, which allows quite a lot of accessories to be attached. There's also a TBU01, which allows up to 16 amps and I think about 5 different accessories, or maybe 4. But these are extremely good because there's no cutting into wires into your bike or anything. All you do is put this under your seat or wherever is convenient, and this has a positive and a negative that runs to the battery, and that's it. And this will power up and power down with the bike. So the way it works is when you start the bike up, the voltage goes up and it detects that the voltage has gone up and it switches the power on to the unit, which then powers all your accessories. So it's really, really easy to use. Now, you don't need to buy this one. If you don't like this one, there's others as well. There's Hex Easy Can for like BMW, lots of different things that you can buy. So you can choose whichever one suits you, but I recommend the Thunderbox. Now, we have no association with them or anything, so I don't have any links to them or anything. You just do a web search and you should find them. They're available freely across Europe and in the USA, I think. Well, yeah, they are in the US as well. So I think most places you can buy a Thunderbox and they're not that expensive. So if you're thinking of fitting more than one accessory, or even if it is just the one accessory like this one, this will make your life a lot easier. Now, if you don't buy one of these, then what you need to do is find a ignition switched cable and plug this red cable into it. So this red cable will need to go into something that's ignition switched. And what that does is when you put the ignition on, it sends a signal to the unit that there's now power and it will switch on. And when you switch the ignition off, again, it will switch the unit off so that it's not staying on constantly. Now, you don't want to wire this all up straight to the battery without this, because if you do, it's just never going to turn off. It's just going to drain your battery. So that's not a very clever way of doing it at all. But like I said, the Thunderbox will make it easier, because all I need to do with the Thunderbox is I'm going to put the positive and the ACC cable both into the Thunderbox positive, and because I don't need it to try and find an ignition switch cable, so I'll just put the ignition switch one, you know, the ACC cable into there, because it'll just switch on when this switch is on, and then negative straight in there. So it just makes life a lot easier. So I would highly recommend that you do that. Okay, so I'm going to cut off these connectors first because I don't need them. Okay, so this is one of the positive bits for the Thunderbox. I'm going to put this in here. And that's it in. Now I just need to put a negative in. I'll put that in here. And that's it. So this is what I mean about the Thunderbox making it a lot easier, you know, for wiring. Okay. Now the only problem is if you have a lot of accessories, you end up with quite a lot of cables under your seat. I haven't found a way around that yet. There's nothing you can do about that, but generally speaking, if you've only got one or two things, then it's not going to be a major problem. My issue is I'm testing 3 or 4 different things at a time, so I end up with quite a lot of accessories, which again is where the Thunderbox is good. But anyway, so this now is just going to go, so this cable is now just going to go into the power cable here. And that's the cabling completed, so all the cabling stuff is done. All I need to do is just, I left this cover on deliberately because there is a screen protector that comes with the M2QR. So I'm going to fit that now before I start touching the screen and everything. So let's get that done. Let's remove this protective cover first. I mean, to be honest, it's quite clean. I don't think I really need to do anything else to it, but I think I'm just going to use the dust absorber. I don't think I need to use anything else, just in case there is anything on it. So this is the protector itself. Okay, I'm going to start the bike up. Now the reason I need to start the bike up is because of the way the Thunderbox works. The Thunderbox detects the voltage from the alternator putting power into the battery, so the bike needs to be running before all the accessories come on. And when you switch the bike off, it switches everything off again. So it's quite good that way. It's a very easy to use system. So let's power this up. Okay, so I'm just going to bind the front tire pressure monitor. So I think I'm going to put it on first, then come back here and do the binding. Okay, so that's the front wheel now bound as well. So tire pressure monitors should be shown here, front and rear. It's simple as that. So let's check the rest of the stuff now. I haven't put the CarPlay on yet, but let's check the cameras. I'll adjust all the angles on these as and when, but power is there, everything's there. I need to put a micro SD card in as well, but that's it, everything's working. That's the fitting completed. As you can see, it's a fairly straightforward process. There's nothing that complicated about it. If you've got any questions, just ask in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. I'll be doing a full ride review and everything in due course as well. But this process took me roughly about 90 minutes, and that's with me filming this as well. So it's not that long to do either. So as I said, any questions, just ask. Cheers.